Welcome aboard. It's Captain G with Newblood Turn 17, July 1944 recap as we head into January of 1945. So the U.S. roll got a 4, needed a 3 or less to end the game, so we do get to continue into January of 45. Looking at the income, while the U.S. does remain the largest global economy, what we realized, actually, if you look at it, the 59 income, and that's subject to one minor change we'll get to later, plus their 12 bonus is less than the Japanese, sitting there at 56. Sorry for the glare. And their 19 bonus that they get for the islands and China. So in actuality, it is the Japanese economy, which is the largest in the world, and probably has been for a little bit of time. Certainly the last turn, and we'll talk about that when we go to the map. Germany, on the other hand, has lost a few bonuses. They lost Sweden with the Soviet invasion, and you'll notice there's no more Vichy France. So let's, before we go to the map, let's take a look at the technology. Continues to be the biggest weakness for the Axis, just not able to get the rolls, although the Allies and the Soviets did have a few misses this turn, which is always encouraging to see them miss as well. But the Italians have gone nowhere. The Germans are frustrated with jet fighters and others sitting there waiting at stage 3 to be completed. But the Soviets by far have the most now, with a total of 7 to the German 5 and the US 4 as far as individual powers. Going to the strategic objectives, still the lead for the Axis, and going back to the global economy, the Japanese doing far better than the Germans, and some could argue the Italians are doing better than the Germans. Now, taking a look at the map, we'll start in the Atlantic, where the Western Allies have moved their fleets, putting British boots on ground, reinforced by American airborne artillery, into French Morocco. The U.S. going back to Portugal. I know Lancer Bolt said liberate it, but they were the ones that invaded it to begin with. It was the Italians who liberated it. And then there's a heavy fleet presence there that the small second Italian fleet guarding the Med is facing off against. So we'll see where that goes. For the rest of Europe, peace in the Kaiser's empire, but Comrade Stalin now has moved into and taken control over Sweden, which, as I mentioned before, cost the Germans their bonus. So rather than take Norway, which would have closed that line and stopped the bleeding of IPP to these British subs, the Soviets took Sweden, which took away the German bonus. The Kaiser was not pleased, but still peace reigns in most of Europe, at least East and Central Europe. In the Middle East, the German and Italian forces continue to occupy Iraq, Iran, but all the Italian air have left MAB, the Maharashtra Air Base, and flown over to Syria, heading back to answer with the Allied threat coming to the Med. The Japanese mop up the holdout Gurkhas in Kashmir, but they did secure that final objective, Asia for Asians, by finally capturing Singapore last turn. And then the other attack that the Japanese did last turn was the invasion and conquest of Hawaii. So the combined Japanese fleets are sitting there off Hawaii. And here is the American fleet and transport force off the coast of the US or import. I'm not clear, I'll have to confirm that with Lancer Bolt. That's countering them. So a big naval face-off. Luckily we didn't roll a 3 or less. That would have ended the game before we got a chance to decide the outcome of that conflict. But one thing we do get to decide right now is a little housekeeping on the US turn. When the US invaded Portugal for the second time, they treated the heavy strategic bomber as first strike and didn't give the casualties their defensive roles, but they are not first strike. Those units, while they don't get a shoot at the bomber, do get a shoot at the other invading forces. So if they both hit, all 4 of these pieces are dead, and it remains Italian but empty. And if only one or neither of them hit, then it becomes a US occupied territory. So the blue dice at a 4 is the Italian infantry. The yellow dice at a 2 is the militia. We'll go ahead and roll right now. And 2 misses. So no change to how it was. The Italians come off. The US goes in, and the US moves up 1, and the Italians move down 1. So, hallelujah. We get to do one more round. Next up will be Germany, turn 18, January 1945. Wonder what the Kaiser wants to do. On behalf of Lancer Bolt, Mark the Shark, Eggman, I'm Captain G. Over and out.